Jeff, any truth to the rumor I read on Twitter? Actually, I heard it in a voice tweet that your campfire is a IRA access zone.
It is.
So are they going to have audiologists at the Apple Store for us now?
2 of them, 1 for each ear.
I actually like the Chrome browser on iOS, but I've never permanently switched to it because it's a pain in the butt, because it's not going to open things up by default.
Back tap.
If you go to Privacy Health, there was an option there to turn on to do COVID tracking. And I'm like, okay. And how would that work?
Does anybody know who the number 1 retailer in the United States is for hearing aids? It was quite shocking.
Costco.
Yep.
That Blind Tech Show.
Welcome back to another That Blind Tech Show. I'm here with Mr. Ed Plumacher. How you doing, Ed?
Doing good, Brian. Just good to be with you and Serena and Jeff, and we'll have a nice show tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I don't need to introduce them because you've introduced them. Also, a surprise to the listeners with us tonight. Serena, how are you doing, Serena?
I'm doing good. How are you, Brian?
I'm okay. And out there in the good Minnesota, Wisconsin, Jeff Thompson. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Brian. Hey, Ed. Hey, Serena. Nice to hear y'all.
Twitter recently released a new thing called voice tweets, and to my understanding, what this is the voice tweets, I believe, will give you up to 140 seconds of recording time. On first launch of this, it was rolled out to a few people and discovered that this feature was not accessible to the blind or hearing impaired. And there was a big commotion in those communities, which was great for those people to raise their voice and point this out. The creator of Hamilton, which a lot of you guys are going to be hearing a lot about if you haven't already, Lin-Miranda, was made aware of this situation because he sang in one of these voice tweets. And I thought it was really cool that he put out there that he would no longer use this feature until it was accessible to all. What kind of struck me as odd is Twitter rolling out a new feature like this that was not accessible to everyone, but more shockingly, that they don't even have an accessibility department. Serena, you love to tweet. What were your thoughts about all of this?
I actually am surprised that they don't have an accessibility department, because they also, I think in the last few weeks, probably right before this feature ran out, they also introduced a new feature with alt text to make it more prevalent, to encourage people to add alt text to images. So it's kind of interesting that on one hand, they're making things more accessible, but no one's perfect. So maybe this was just something they overlooked and thought that it would naturally be accessible, at least to the blind and visually impaired. They probably didn't even think about the hearing impaired because they just aren't a video social network. So they probably didn't even think.
Yeah. Have any of you guys even come across a voice tweet, or do you think, I don't even know if they've just completely removed this feature altogether already?
No, but I did see where the CEO was apologetic that they didn't even consider this and have it out there, and they won't be doing that again. So it's nice. The thing is, you can record up to 140 seconds, but you can do 25 consecutive ones, so you will be able to get up to about an hour, and they'll just thread one after the other, but they'll break it up into that section. So it might be interesting. But, if you're a skimmer, like some people like to just read the headlines and skim through, I don't know how many people are going to click on a voice message.
Do you guys, this reminds me of, was that VoRail that came out a few years ago in the blind community, and it was, everybody was doing like these short descriptive vocalizations of their thoughts and things like that. And I found it interesting for about a day, and then I was done with it. So I don't know if I'm going to be going through listening to voice tweets from everybody.
Well, VoRail is still out there. You can still do it. You have to pay $5 to be on it per month now. It reminds me of Audio Boom, that when that was out. But anyways, here we have messages. We have WhatsApp. Is it too late? I think there's so many different options that we have to do different things, that most people are engaged in one platform or the other. And now all of a sudden this comes out. It's just going to be interesting. And they said there's going to be people, not algorithms, monitoring it. So you can't just put out like a podcast segment to advertise your podcast. You can't do music, which means you can't put an MP3 in there. You have to actually use your microphone through their app to record it. So you can't put any pre-recorded messages.
I was going to say, how did Manuel Moringa, or a very confusing name. It's a tongue-twisting name, but I did think that was excellent what he put out there. And yeah, I don't know if this is an interesting feature or not. Only time will tell. But for a giant company like Twitter to swiftly react and get on this, I thought they did a pretty good job backtracking and everything.
Well, I don't think TikTok has anything to worry about.
And what's that new service that you mentioned to me just popped up, Ed? Do you recall the name of that one?
Oh, yeah. I just read something. There was a Twitter alternative called Parler, which I did take a look at. It completely inaccessible. I didn't even bother. None of the buttons were labeled. I said, I'm not even going to bother with this thing.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of people on Twitter talking that they are blind and they can't sign up for an account. So, but more hubbub. It's been a commotion-filled week. Getting past those Apple announcements and everything. And it just tells us all, no matter who you are, what your thoughts are, what your beliefs are, learn to read everything and don't just pounce on the first thing you read, because Ira is in a Facebook group and
Brian, the Facebook group is Ira Explorer's Facebook group, where they control the Facebook group, and a lot of people speak on that. And someone brought up something about not having a policy for something and being accusatory of enforcing a policy that was vague or something. But Ira came back and they clarified their policies, and they put out some other policies too. So voices were heard. Some people went off on a tangent. And like you were saying, Brian, earlier, that they should understand the situation before they go off on it, because it comes off as, it just can go and, spread like fire, when in actuality, it wasn't really anything bad or that far off of what their policy was in the first place.
No, all they did was clarify the fact that you can't abuse the 5-minute free system, and that's what happened. It was abused, and you had to cut it back, because no company will survive if that became normal way that people did things. So
well, and it brought up topics too, because a lot of people had very strong opinions that it should be like just free generally to those of us that are blind and visually impaired. And it sounded like maybe this was something that some individuals have become very dependent on, as opposed to it being a tool in your toolbox, as Jeff says all the time. And I think that me personally, the reality is that Ira is a business, and they, in order for them to continue to be a business, they have to profit. We can't rely upon government subsidies or things like that in order for that business to be sustainable, because those could be pulled at any time. So we should be supportive of them wanting to be a full-on private business.
When I think of the 5 minutes, I think of it like a short little thing that I need to get done. And like they recommend, like if you have something that's going to take well over 5 minutes and you continually have that, get a plan and use it and budget for it and pick the plan that works for you. Because in my view of it, when they said it's free for 5 minutes, it's like, that's for those quick little things. You're in a jam, you get out of it. Thank you very much. It's great to have there, and I would never abuse it.
Yeah, no matter what community you're in, in any walk of life, you're always going to have people that somehow are looking to gain the system or feel they should, necessarily get things for free, and it's just a shame. Overall, I'm very satisfied. I use Ira all the time. I'm a big fan of the service, and I'm grateful. I mean, every month I look at my account, and it's like, you got 26 minutes for free using Ira minutes and everything, and I have a full 100 minutes a month, and I don't know what I'd do without the service. Just don't overreact before the whole story, I guess, is the moral of the story.
Right. Well, you're a subscriber, Brian, yeah. Right? You're still a subscriber to Ira. I know I am as well. I think Jeff is too. And Serena, do you subscribe to Ira?
I have it as an accommodation for work, so yes, I do have a subscription.
Oh, great.
The other thing is, like Brian mentioned, he had 26 minutes that he got for free because of the 5-minute plan. And you can also, when you're in a Ira access zone, and so like Walgreens, or when you're in Target and stuff like that, you get those as well. So there's so many different opportunities to use it and be free. But I think when they talk about free, it's like when you're in a jam, when you're at those type of places. I like that. I really do like that. And, I just don't want people to think that because it says free, 5 minutes, well, what they're doing is get a taste for it, get a flavor for it, and pick your plan that you feel that will be comfortable, because there's nothing better than to get something done so you can move on. And if it's worth like $30 for you that month, or up to $100 a month, depending on how you use it, when you use it, it's a great service.
Jeff, any truth to the rumor I read on Twitter? Actually, I heard it in a voice tweet that your campfire is a Ira access zone?
It is because I have Verizon. I get good Verizon here, so I can turn on Ira right here in the middle of nowhere.
That's great. That's great. Ira's everywhere.
Is that a bear?
That'd be a good one. Is that a grizzly bear or a black bear?
Yeah, please tell me.
And then his phone is calling Ira from the bear's stomach. That would be
Yeah.
a bad sign. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, a lot of things are closing. And again, I guess this is the, dispelling rumors and misrumors and everything, because it's been out there. The Bose announced that they were discontinuing their augmented reality feature, which is disappointing, but I actually had to call Bose the other day, and who knows if the guy was being truthful. The great news he did tell me is that Bose is still continuing to manufacture the Bose frames. So that was great to hear, despite hearing contrary in other areas of the internet and everything. But Bose announced that they were closing all their United States stores, but Microsoft, more surprisingly, announced that they will not be opening their stores. Ed, had you ever been to that store on Fifth Avenue for Microsoft, or in the Columbus Circle for the Bose store?
Oh, not at the Bose store. I was at the Microsoft store, which is over in that area as well. But I think that's been closed for COVID, and from what I understand, not reopening.
Yeah, we have the Mall of America, and we have a Microsoft store right across from the Apple store. So it is nice to just walk across and check it out. And it's like, hello. Compared to the Apple store, where you got so much happening, so much bustling and all that stuff. In the other store, you go in there and they got one worker, and it's twice the size, and you just don't know where to look, because what are you looking for when you go into a Microsoft store? Anybody?
A Surface Pro
Surface.
Or an Xbox?
The Surface is the only thing.
Yes, there you go. And when they had the virtual reality machines going, when they were hotter, I guess, they've kind of phased out a little bit, haven't they? Settled in, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're right, Jeff. They were massive stores. They were the one in Denver that we've gone to. I think it's actually like 3 times the size of the Apple store. It was huge. I don't see a point. Like, we know what the Surfaces look like now. So if I'm looking for a PC, I'm probably not going to go to the Microsoft store to compare and contrast. I'm just going to either go online or go to Best Buy, honestly.
Yeah, at least you can get your hands on the keyboard.
And so since we last recorded, we obviously had WWDC, disappointing, no new hardware. But for our full breakdown on WWDC, you will have to go to our Facebook group, That Blind Tech Show, where we did a Facebook Live, and you can hear all of our thoughts, all 4 of us, our thoughts on everything from Apple TV to iOS to the iPad to the Mac. We did discover some articles out there did bring up some interesting features that we did not get to discuss in our Facebook Live. Jeff, I think you sent me this article first, and it's all over the Twitter now and everything, about an iOS 14 on an iPhone 10 and later. Unfortunately, Ed, this is not the SE2. You're going to be able to perform a triple tap on the back of the iPhone to perform specific gestures?
Back tap. Yeah, it was designed for people with motor skills difficulty, and it's nice that you can, I think there's up to 20 different options that you can do for it, either a double tap or a triple tap to the back side of your phone. So you can set it up to do multiple different things, even, suggest to do shortcuts. I believe it's that intense. I have not tried it yet, but it just seems like another thing. Yeah, I think I was joking with Serena. I said, is it something that's going to be in your pocket and your keys hit the backside twice and all of a sudden your phone goes off? If you ever had raised awake on your phone, sometimes I'd be outside, I'd be walking along, and all of a sudden my phone would go off like, hey, hi, and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting how that is used, or if people do utilize it for certain things. It's going to be neat if you could personalize it to do something that really helpful.
It would be really neat to, I've always wanted a gesture to be able to go to my next and previous track on my phone without having to because if you're listening to it, it's kind of hard to find that button if you're playing it on the phone. So I'm wondering maybe that back tap, that could solve that problem potentially, but who knows?
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Or it could be something where if your phone is locked, you don't have to unlock the phone to do a gesture. You can just do it on the backside.
Serena, how's the triple tap work on the power? I assume you triple tap the power button to toggle voiceover on and off quickly?
Yep, and it works really well.
Just as good as the home button?
Oh, yeah.
I know that was a feature that I read under back tap. You'll be able to use it as an accessibility shortcut. But if you can already do it with the power button, then you obviously want to set it to something else.
And it was asked of me, I think Serena asked me if it would work with a case on, and yes, it will work with a case on.
It'll work with what case, though? I mean, you have to use the Apple case for that to work? Because, all the cases I've ever used for my phone, if the back is covered, how's it going to work?
I think it's using the sensors to notice that the phone has essentially been shook almost.
Maybe it's that jiggle it feature.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually detecting anything like, oh, this person touched this part of the phone. I think it's just maybe making it more sensitive to notice
That type of motion.
Because when you tap it, it's going to make the motion sensors go off. It's probably using that.
Like a vibration thing if you're tapping it. Yeah.
So, Ed, do not use your phone in your pocket when you're doing jumping jacks.
Or just don't do more than 3 and you'll be okay.
Well, then you're covered, Brian.
Hey, I'm a sit up. I'm a sit up guy. Yeah,
A year.
yeah,
A
3
year.
a year. Okay. So headphone accommodations. This was, they're doing a lot of interesting things. Now, here's a question for you, Jeff. Okay, getting back to the switching before we get into the headphone accommodations and what else that will mean.
I'm getting ready for this question. Go ahead.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
So I'm playing around with iOS 14, but I'm not playing around, obviously, with it with my AirPods. And I'm kind of curious, with the switching of the AirPods, how do you think it's going to work? Like, okay, say I'm doing something on the iPhone, I'm using VoiceOver, and I have my AirPods on, but then I touch my watch to hear the time. Is it going to switch, or do you think it'll be... Because VoiceOver is going to be speaking, so I am really curious how this automatic switching is going to work in iOS 14. What are your thoughts about that?
I believe it's going to notice that you have certain devices hooked up to your Apple ID and you're all on the same Wi-Fi, that it'll be able to go from one to another. Now, I've actually been on the bike spinning. I've actually had it do that from my watch to my phone. And it kind of freaked me out. And I thought that was really cool. How I did it, I don't know, but it worked. It's going to be interesting. I hope it does, because I would use that. When you're in your capsule, you got your Mac in front of you, your iPhone on the right, and your iPad over here. That would just be seamless and really cool.
Well, that's how it should work, but I know this is Brian's biggest frustration. Okay, they're going to give him handoff on his Bluetooth headsets, but he can't get an Apple Bluetooth keyboard to switch off to more than one device.
Well, that's my pet peeve about the Apple keyboard there, Ed. It just amazes me that we're this far. Most people own more than one Apple product, so why doesn't Apple make a keyboard that could switch between devices? It just baffles me. I mean, you think by now they would. It would just make life so much easier. You were really interested, though, Jeff, in people are really going to be able to tailor audio where, say, you have a hearing issue in one ear or you hear certain sounds, I guess, lower, that you're going to be able to really customize that with your AirPods, it sounds like.
I think it's really cool. I mean, right now you can bring up the intensity depending on, if you have noise cancellation turned on, that's not what it is. But you can actually enhance, like say you're walking down the road and you're listening to something, you can still hear the outside noise and actually amplify it a little bit. But what this is going to do is say that you have a hard time picking up high frequencies, or maybe high frequencies bother you because you have a ringing in your ear already. You'll be able to alter the sound to key in on the sound for your hearing specifications that you need to hear better. Even if you don't have a hearing problem, it may enhance the listening ability, especially like in a crowd or at a table or anything like that, talking back and forth. So it's an option, other than hearing aids, for you to fine-tune the sound that you can better optimize the information you're receiving.
So are they going to have audiologists at the Apple Store for us now?
2 of them, one for each ear.
Well, they do have Apple-approved hearing aids. They've had those for a few years now, if I recall. So I'm sure this all works. They're probably just keep building and building and building upon it.
Right, but usually the people I know that get hearing aids, they actually go there and the hearing aids are tweaked to their specific hearing requirements.
They get them programmed.
Yeah, so it's like, so how does I'm wondering what tools are going to be available to actually figure this out for people.
Ed, go get certified and let us know.
Oh, God. I don't need any more certifications.
We had to get my dad a hearing aid last year. Does anybody know who the number one retailer in the United States is for hearing aids? It was quite shocking.
Costco.
Yep.
Costco. Great audiology department.
That's where my dad goes. He goes to Costco.
That was quite surprising to me. So Apple announced that in iOS 14 and Mac Big Sur, which when VoiceOver reads it really quick, it sounds like Mixer, by the way. Has anybody noticed that yet, or no? Am I the only one that... I'm like, what's Mac Mixer? It was saying Big Sur. Sounds like Mixer, but They announced that you'll be able to use your browser of choice. I'll be staying with Safari. Serena, you operate in the PC environment, and we also have discovered that you're going to be able to import other browser extensions into Safari. Is this of any interest to you, taking stuff that you do maybe in Google Chrome, I'm assuming you're using on the PC, and putting it into Safari?
No, I literally only use my Mac for podcasting now.
You do a podcast?
Haha.
Can you send me the link to the show afterwards so I can subscribe?
But what it's going to allow you to choose your default browser in your iPhone too. And I actually like the Chrome browser on iOS, but I've never permanently switched to it because it's a pain in the butt because it does not going to open things up by default. So I could see myself switching to the Chrome browser on my phone.
Is anybody using any kind of extensions in their web browser? Because I've found these things to either they sound great, add to my Amazon cart, and then it never seems to work with VoiceOver. So just curious, anybody using any kind of extensions in their web browser?
I use a ton for G Suite on my Chrome.
What are you using?
So by default, G Suite doesn't make noise when you get an email, and that's just something I like to hear. So I added, I don't even know what it was called, but that extension. And then there's some Google Docs extensions that allow you to work offline and things like that. Just little things that make it just more seamless.
Jeff or Ed, either of you guys using any kind of extensions in your browsers?
Well, the only one I'm using right now is an extension for my antivirus that is hooked up to both, I think, Microsoft Edge now and Google Chrome. So that's all.
That's an exciting one.
Yeah. I think I'd mentioned to you, Brian, that I had tried when I was more using Vision more to use a computer screen that I had tried to do the different background color extensions for Google Chrome initially, because just to eliminate this huge white screen that would pop up a lot of times whenever Google Chrome would come up. With my vision impairment, I found it very distracting and hard to deal with. I just always had issues with the extensions to get them to work right. The other one is seamless, and I leave it at that.
Is the reader considered an extension?
No. These are plugins that you have to install.
Yeah. I have one where I can actually collect articles and save it in a reading type of list. I forgot the name of it. Obviously, I use it a lot, but I forgot the name of it. But no, I'm not a big extension user.
No.
Well, I think Google Chrome has a remote access too. I think that is that an extension, Sabrina? The remote access?
Did you call me Sabrina?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's no Sabrina here. I'm sorry.
Second time.
No, I'm not. I don't. I've never heard of that, but I don't get too technical with it. Like all of mine are related to making Gmail easier. So I'm not familiar with that particular one.
Okay, I will call you Serena. I just want to say Serena so Jeff can cut it in.
No, we'll leave it. He will.
Ed, I got your back. I got you.
So in iOS 14, another feature which I love is Face ID and Touch ID. They're saying it will now allow you to log into websites in Safari, which anything time I don't have to type my password, because nowadays I'm trying to be a little bit more creative with my passwords and put in, well, I'm not going to tell you because then you can hack my accounts, but some of those other symbols into my browser. And Jeff, I just think being able to use Face ID or Touch ID, it's about time we should be able to just log into whatever website we go to if we've already entered our password. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I wish more of them would do it. I have one, like when I log into my dashboard, that it automatically pops up a bar down on the bottom. Do you want to use this? Boom. And it's just bang, bang, and I just do it. So the further they can get more websites and apps to use this type of technology, it's just seamless. I mean, it's your face. Use it.
I think it's also a good security feature, too, in case, God forbid you end up with some kind of virus on your computer or something that's in there looking at what you're doing, like a keyboard or a key tracker. If you're not typing in your passwords or anything, it's hard for someone to track if you're just using a touch ID or facial recognition.
So is it going to use your iOS device for you to use Face ID or Touch ID, or are they going to start using the webcams on the Macs to do that?
No, this was on iOS. This is on iOS in Safari. It didn't say on the Mac.
So this is why I'm confused. My phone already has me use Face ID to log in. To websites. Every single site that I have a saved password for, it'll ask me, do I want to log in? And if I say yes, then it uses Face ID to validate me.
There you go.
So that's why I was asking if it was coming to the Mac, then that'd be a huge step up.
I know they plan to, I think, integrate in, I don't know if it's the new computers or Mac Big Sur. They do plan to let you use, I believe, your Face ID or Touch ID on the watch and the iPhone to log in on the computer. But no, this is about Safari. I've got plenty of websites I go to on Safari that they don't ever ask you. If it's a saved password, I guess you're right. If it is a saved password, a lot of the times, but a lot of times I'll go to a website, for example, my credit card's website, and even though I've saved it several times, I've logged in with Touch ID, it's still blank, and then above your keyboard, it'll just say passwords, and I still then have to go find that specific password, scroll through the 80 or so that are there.
But do you utilize when it says passwords that it already brings up like a few common ones that are available, or does it send you all the way back to your entire
All the way
A through
back.
Z list?
All the way back to it says, when it has, for example, TiVo, Jeff, it'll say, do you want to use Brian Fischler at blank.com? That's the suggestion, and you could do that. With the credit card, it just says list of selected passwords. So even if you hit that, then you're in that A to Z list for your password. So maybe they're just going to get this a little bit more streamlined and working a lot better, which would be nice.
Yeah, I wish they would, because I want it more secure. I really don't like, you go to the website, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to the app, and the app is so stupid sometimes. It's like you never existed before, It's like
Yeah.
Wow. And then you have to go, what is it? So you have to go there anyways. And I wish they would correlate, like when they develop an app, that if you are associated, I don't know, let's keep it secure first. Maybe they can't do it for some reason, but sometimes it just seems so stupid.
Keep me logged in is checked, and it has none of your information, and you've been to that website before. Yeah, so
Oh, let me tell you, WordPress, right now, you can say save or remember me and all that stuff, and it'll ask you again, and boom, boom, every time. And if I go to another website, like if you're putting it into your dashboard and you want to go to the website and then come back, because you're juggling some stuff to cut and pasting and stuff, every time you come back, it has to do it twice. It's like,
yeah. I just want to get less pop-ups, and if I've told a site to remember me, then remember me and everything. I'm giving it my trust, so maybe that's a bad thing. But Ed, you pointed out to me, Apple obviously, you didn't point out to me that Apple did anything, but Apple obviously, a lot of the WWDC was focused on privacy, or I love the way the Brits say it, privacy. But already showing up in iOS 13, you pointed out to me a new COVID thing under health and privacy.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of reports about health tracking, and I've actually have a few students that have gotten jobs recently as contract tracers, and then seen how it was already built into iOS 13 at one of the last few updates. If you go to privacy health, there was an option there to turn on to do COVID tracking, and I'm like, okay, and how would that work? So it's like, I believe there's one for Android as well that Google has put out. It's there, it's turned off by default right now, but it's like, okay, at what point does this get turned on by us if we feel it's going to work well, or is this something that pending some kind of government agreement or something would automatically get turned on?
So needless to say, these things are tracking our every movements, everything we do, except our passwords.
They could, and they usually do. Serena, how do you feel about doing that, the COVID tracking? Is that something that would be interesting to you? Is that something that you would find alarming?
Well, the way I understood it is that the API is designed for if you are told by your health department that you need to do it, then that's where that feature comes into play. I don't think it's something that I honestly don't think it'll be something that will ever just automatically be turned on. It's always going to be something that we'll have to opt into. I would be shocked, especially with Apple, if they ever just automatically had something like that turned on without your permission.
do you know what I heard around the campfire last night? Anybody interested? I take it that's a yes.
Were you 6 feet apart from everybody?
You don't answer a question with a question, Brian. That's so rude.
I'm a rude person. I'm just rude.
Anyway, I'm just going to say it.
No manners.
They said that when we get the vaccination, they're going to inject you with a microchip as well.
And you
Right
could
then
quote that Blind Tech Show on that one.
No. That's what they said. I made sure I stayed 6 feet away from that person the rest of the time. It was just like, makes you go.
Were they serious or kidding?
I wasn't really tuned into this person anyways that much, and that comment there just solidified my thoughts. It was like, okay. But it's interesting when you talk about the privacy of this type of tracking, this privacy thing. It is a serious thing, you know. We thought cell phones were the neatest things, but it's been the most unprivate thing ever developed for mankind, really. They've been tracking us forever, and now another layer of it, it's like, gosh, we never gave out our phone numbers, but how many apps now want your phone numbers just to be part of it? Like WhatsApp. Yeah, it's just interesting.
And you know what I've learned recently, Jeff?
What's that, Brian?
Every sighted person out there has a camera and they're filming everything. So don't be an idiot out there.
Everything.
Everything is being filmed. Yeah. So
I got to comb my hair. I'll be right back.
that's the advantage of having very little hair. So, Ed, you're headed back on the subway. We went through the long trek you take to work on the last episode. What are you feeling about getting out there and having to do everything you do to get to work as of next week?
Yeah, coming up here this upcoming week, I'll be going in one day just to test it out, and it's a little nerve-wracking. I'm not sure what I'm going to run into. There's been a lot of construction done on the main Long Island Railroad terminal at Penn Station since I've been there, so I'm a little concerned about my walkways, my paths, the things I'm familiar with being changed, and I know there are some construction barriers up. And then just the simple fact of trying to social distance and not get too close to people and be able to get on the subway platform and get on the subway without being piled in like sardines. I don't know how that's going to work out.
I'm very fortunate that, like Jeff, I do most of my work from home. I actually closed the case because the person can't do the training over the phone. So I'm just going to be training over the phone for the rest of the year and most of the other work I do. But, comedy clubs are not opening anytime soon in New York City. Did you hear in Atlanta, they opened the clubs there and comic D.L. Hughley collapsed on stage and it ends up he had coronavirus. So, Serena, are you still not going back to work till August time? Have things changed there for you at all?
No, I don't have to go back to work until right after Labor Day. So luckily, still got about 8 weeks to stress about that, I guess.
How are things in your neck of the woods? More viruses popping up, or you guys have just been sheltering at home still and things are all good at your household?
Everyone's all good in our household and our extended family. I don't think our cases have been spiking, actually. I think they've been going down in my county, which is nice. Unlike Florida, they're having a real hard time there right now. So I hope it keeps following this trend. And I think the governor here is we had this 3-stage thing where it was stay at home, safer at home, and then protect your neighbor, which will be even less restrictions.
Jeff, just because even though you work at home, have things changed? And I guess you're living in 2 locations now, Minnesota or Wisconsin. What are things like there now?
Well, the bears are being tested daily, so that's great, because if I come within 6 feet of those, I want to know. I did buy some bear spray. Wow. Gives you 5 seconds of continuous 30-foot spray. Think about that. 5 seconds. That's all you get. So I hope it makes noise so I can try and aim for the face. But are you going to wait to see if you got it or not? Anyways, but the COVID thing back in Minneapolis, what's going on there, everything that's going on there. I'm up here. I go back after a week, and it's like I learn more and more about, what stores are doing. Lori is going back 3 days a week to work. So she's going to work and coming back, but she's ride sharing with coworkers and not using the public transportation. And myself, I haven't used the public transportation. I heard hockey's going to be starting up in July, so that might open up opportunities for me. And my club just opened up. I know that because they just charged me. I don't know. Am I going to use an Uber? I did have to use the Uber the other day, and it worked out fine. The person was wearing a mask, and there was an opportunity to use sanitation wipes. So I don't know. It's still prevalent. In Wisconsin here, it's quite different because they had the state Supreme Court make a decision that it was unconstitutional in their state for them to close, the governor to close everything. So up here, you can go into restaurants and everything, sit down just like nothing's changed. I got my hair cut up here. It's really different. So going from Wisconsin to Minnesota, people they still got the little spots where you have to stand and move forward, stagger everybody. Masks are required. Children under, like Home Depot, under 16, not allowed without I don't think they're allowed. So it's very strict in Minnesota, where in Wisconsin here, it looks no different than 2 years ago when you walk into a bar and grill.
Do you have paratransit in where you live, Jeff, like a paratransit system, and you know how that's working for the blind visually impaired community? Are they doing multiple people per ride, or have they done like New York has done, where it's just single ride for paratransit?
I believe it's at single ride. I may be wrong, but I believe I heard that it's single ride, and I think they, like a lot of companies, whenever you contact them or anything, due to the coronavirus, everything is extended out to how long a delay may be and all that. So I don't know how good it'll be for people. I mean, if you got a 2-hour window, that could be half a day's extra for a workday period if it goes 2 hours.
I know one of the issues we're having is that, even as things open up and we're going back to work, and initially I guess I'll be doing, 2 to 3 days a week initially. The thing is, trying to get people to come in is a different thing. I know a lot of my students, if they are properly equipped and have the adaptive tech at home and the right technology and the skill set, they're comfortable training from home remotely, and it's worked out well for some. So I think going forward, we will see a shift in the way that the blind visually impaired community is trained and how things are done after COVID. So I think you'll see a lot more remote training, and I think it's here to stay.
I did find out that Vision Loss Resource just opened up their doors last week. All the teachers and instructors went in to get things set up and ready and kind of have all the employees meeting type of deal, how they'll operate, how they'll function. I think there's state guidelines that you have to put into place to be able to open up, but they did open up. So this week they were open for customers again. And they're not a residential training center. They are, part-time and full-time clients, customers.
I finally braved it and decided last week I was going to get some food from my favorite bar restaurant. And instead of ordering in, I walked over there. It's only 2 blocks away. And they have the front window open. And they said, hey, you want to come in for a drink? I'm like, is that allowed? And I went in and there was one other guy in there. And the bar stools weren't there. You just stood there. But it felt so great. I was talking with him. We were social distancing. But it just felt so great. Even though I was only there for, about a half hour, had a couple drinks, and then picked up my food and went home and ate it. It just felt so great to be back out amongst the living and everything. When you live alone, you really get cabin fever, so to speak, and everything. And I discovered today that my zip code is the 3rd worst in New York City for the amount of social distancing complaints. And yesterday it sounded like my street sounded like Mardi Gras. So people are not social distancing, and it's just very frustrating. But being BAPE, the Blind Abilities podcast empire, means you've got people listening to you on all kinds of devices. Well, who knows? Actually, yeah, we do have Android listeners. We've got people listening on the iPhone, their computers, on Facebook, probably clicking on the links we put out from Twitter, as well as one of our most popular listening devices, the Victor Reader Stream. And Jeff, you learned something interesting lately from Humanware, didn't you?
I didn't learn it recently. This is something that's happened before. The thing about the Victor Stream is they actually hard load your podcast feed. It's in the device. It's not out there searching for it like if you're connected to Apple. Say your feed makes a change, like the HTTPS is added, which a lot of, like all the people from Libsyn, now your feed has a S in it. Well, that was coming and everything like that. Well, that goes unnoticed by any type of podcatcher that you may have. No one even noticed it changed. But with the Victor Stream, you have to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. But, sometimes people get their podcast subscribed to and they haven't done it for years and stuff, and all of a sudden they just don't receive it. There's no notification. There's no notice at all. And you wouldn't want to think that you have to resubscribe, so they just think that Blind Ability stopped. So I talked to the people at Humanware who makes the Victor Stream, and they said that everyone would have to unsubscribe and resubscribe. But they're on vacation right now, and they're going to try and fix it again. So doesn't seem to work. I think they're using that. What is that? Otunes?
Is that still exists? Otunes?
Yeah, they use Otunes. That's for the internet radio.
Yeah, but that's what they're using for their podcast as well. I think Victor Stream uses that. Oh. So maybe the problem is at Otunes, but it's just kind of interesting. It's just one of those devices that is out there that it's developed for the blind and all that. But part of me, it just irks me. I'm vexed a little bit that can't they just be like everyone else?
Yeah, I think you are. I think Blind Abilities is a recommended podcast feed
on the
from Humanware.
It is.
On the Victor, yeah. So it makes it a little easier. So they don't have to go searching for you in iTunes. You're part of that was it 6 or 8 recommendations that Humanware puts out.
Yeah, but is it the accurate feed?
That's the thing. They redid the podcast because they realized it was broken because the S was done. And so they put in a generic one. And now they're trying to get back to the S one. And they're on vacation right now. So this should be fixed. So if you are a Victor Stream reader, you will have to resubscribe to Blind Abilities. And it should be working when they return from vacation.
And the S is not for Superman. It's for security, right?
That's absolutely correct, Brian.
You can quote that Blind Tech Show.
I thought it was for Serena.
And here I thought it was for secure.
I saw that coming a mile away.
Jeez.
Yeah, not even security, secure. So now none of us are gamers, but there's been some big gaming news. I hope I'm not misspeaking. Maybe some of us are gamers, but The Last of Us came out on The Last of Us 2, I believe it is, came out on the Sony PlayStation. It's on that gaming system only. And there was a pretty great video of a blind gamer who got very emotional because he's tested out these games over the years. CNN even picked it up, and I thought that was great because it only can mean good things for accessibility. This game has over 60 built-in accessibility features, and I guess it's a role-playing game or RPG. I don't even know what the R stands for in RPG. I just know it's one of those games, something about zombies. So it's not a game that I would ever be interested in playing, even if now that I can play it. But what were your thoughts, Ed, about a company going this far with over 60 dedicated accessibility features?
Well, anytime that someone's going to take that much time to make sure that they develop and build something like that in for people, I think it's great. I personally am not a gamer, but I do work with a lot of young students who are. They have various degrees of visual impairments, and they have different degrees of using screen readers, and they get frustrated that they can't always do everything that their friends do. So if we can level the field for gaming for people, I always think it's great. It's always good to advocate for that.
Brian, RPG means role-playing game.
What did I say it was for? Roll? Did I say roll? Did I get it right?
I think you said rocket-propelled grenade.
Oh, okay. I've never played one of those games. I remember one of the strangest experiences. I went to my buddy's house, it was like a night or two before he was getting married, and him and his wife were sitting right next to each other, each on their own laptops with headsets on, playing like video games, and I just found it very odd and everything. So, no, this is great. The more accessibility, the better. I have made the leap, so if you guys never hear me on this podcast again, you know what happened, because I finally purchased the Xbox. I plan to get Madden football game I love to play. I'm hearing it's accessible, and we'll see. I figure worst case, I'll have a couple weeks, if not a month, to send it back, and I can always send it back and sleep with the fishes. Now, I sent the three of you a product that I didn't hear back from any of you, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I ordered it. I got it. I've tested it out today. It works great. It is usable. It's called I believe it's pronounced Modos, MODOS, Clean Pod, and what it does is it's a product that shoots ultraviolet light out. Supposedly they've been using ultraviolet light all over the world to kill bacteria and everything, and it's like a wand that you just run over your countertops or anything. Now, you don't want to run it to your skin or anything. I actually used Ira to help me read the entire directions and just make sure I really familiarized myself with the device. But instead of using hand wipes or anything, you just run this over anything, and it supposedly kills all the bacteria. Why was this not of interest to any of you? Just curious.
Well, you and I spoke about this, Brian. We had about a 10-minute conversation about it yesterday, and we went over the skin thing, and I was wondering how you could tell which way the light was facing, and you said you were going to employ Ira to use it and everything else like that.
It's obvious. It's kind of like a glass part that the light shoots out of. I don't think it's glass per se, but it's obvious what part it's coming out of.
Because my concern was, could you do visual damage if you don't see well, or you don't have a lot of light perception if you had it facing the wrong way if you turned it on? I was concerned about that as well. So I think it's great if it really works. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of data on it.
When I was reading up about it, I saw it's a luggage company that came up with this, and because people travel a lot and they want to keep things clean and stuff like that. So I thought, a luggage company. And then I saw it was $129, and it's a magical wand that you kind of cross over, like you were saying. I was just like, there's the I don't know. I just don't know. And how could you tell the difference? Like when I put sanitizer on my hands, I can smell, the Everclear right there. You can feel it.
Well, this isn't something you use on your hands.
I mean, stuff that's invisible to me. I believe in air. I understand it. I can't see it. But, that wand, I don't know. But with sanitizer, I feel it. So it's going to take me some more feedback than that article from a luggage company to tell me that it's scientifically usable or good enough.
Well, yeah. Yeah, this article, and I discovered this product not from the luggage company. It was written up in the USA Today. Their tech expert was talking about it. And it was actually only $90, so I don't know where you saw that. There's no guarantees. I just thought, in New York, it's been very difficult to get the wipes and everything to clean things. So I figured, why not and everything? If I come down with the coronavirus, then, hey, maybe this thing's not working. I'll have to go back to not licking the countertops and the door handles. And I did run it over my iPhone, and you can run it over your glasses, sunglasses, and stuff like that. So
no, I got the 129 from the article you sent me. Deep inside there was a 129, but that might have been suggested. I'm not sure.
And I think with any of this stuff, and things keep changing daily, so may end up ultraviolet light doesn't do anything, but I figured why not and everything. So the National Association of Broadcasters, these people I just despise because anything they could use to screw blind people, they came out and I guess they're petitioning to not have to move forward just yet. They want a 10-month delay to the market 60 to 100 in the United States in providing audio description passed through to them. Serena, what were your thoughts about this?
I was actually really surprised because most of those markets, I don't know that there's much they would have to do to pass it through. The national affiliates provide them with the production of the audio description, and they already have the SAP channels because they're already providing Spanish on some of those channels. So I thought it was really odd that they would say we can't possibly do this when the stuff's coming from a national network anyway.
It's just anything they could do to just delay things. They were claiming, it's going to cost so much more money. Now, I would like to know how much money, and I don't know if there's any way we could do the research, that it does cost broadcast networks to pass through audio description. But as you mentioned, they already have stuff set up to send out Spanish, so it shouldn't be costing them anything more.
I don't think it costs them anything. I think that the cost would be having their sound engineer click the right button and make sure things are balanced correctly, but and I could be wrong. I could be totally proven wrong next week. Who knows? But I don't think it's what they're saying it is.
Yeah, Ed, any thoughts about this?
I agree with Serena. The distribution mechanism is in place, the whole mechanism for putting together the audio descriptions in place, and I just don't understand why this has not progressed to a level similar to the UK and the United Kingdom. What is it, 70% of their television is audio described? It's ridiculous that we don't have this here.
We're living in a time where we've had the best audio description available to us. I don't see why there's a blockade or there's a hesitance amongst, especially when inclusion seems to be the hottest word involved in corporations over the last 2 years. And here you have someone that actually is bucking the system. Reminds me of Domino's trying to fight the system a little bit. So how'd that go for them, So I'd like to see it squashed a little bit and, bring it to us. It's an option. And it really, like Serena said, it doesn't cost much to do it. Well, why not? Just do it.
Yeah, it's just good business sense and everything. So now I guess for my favorite part of the show, I don't know, nobody else ever has any favorite part of the show. Jeff, we know your favorite part is when it's over, but what are you streaming? What are you reading? Serena? Have you finished The Wire season 1?
We did, and I'm going to wait to watch the rest of it. I'll leave it at that. But we finished Breaking Bad season 1 as well, which it is so much more enjoyable with the audio description because we did watch it years ago, and the reason we never finished it is because it was just so hard to know what was going on and to have my husband describe it at the same time, and really enjoyed rewatching that first season. So that's where we're at with that right now.
Jeff, are you streaming anything out there at the campfire or reading anything?
Actually, I'm listening to different podcasts and I am reading a few things. I like nonfiction stuff. I have a bunch of people on WhatsApp that we all like nonfiction stuff. No, I'm not a big TV watcher and I can watch it though. I can watch my stream from up here. Yeah. But that's about it.
Have you made any changes to the trailer up there or anything? Anything that I know you were watching some videos, so any big changes that you've made or anything interesting new?
Well, I did subscribe to the Hotspot for $10 extra. They were giving away free. Verizon was during the Corona period. We're still in it, but they took it away. So I enjoyed using it for the 20 minutes and then they took it away. And so I called them and I hooked up to it. So I can actually connect up my computer and I'm broadcasting right now. I did a broadcast live show. I'm doing this show. I did our last show from the camper. So hotspotting works. I get 15 gigabytes that I can use on hotspotting. and then they'll throttle me down during busy times, and I get 25 gigabytes of what they say free data, but until they will throttle you down during busy, congested times of this stuff. Differences, changes up here at the camper. I bring my own water. That's kind of important because you just don't know what you're getting out of the tap. I'm hooked up to water, sewer, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just fun. It's enjoyable up here. I like the fresh air. I like the low noise, and I don't have the national TV. And I stopped watching CNN. That's another thing that I guess I'm not watching. The news. You guys, I'm not watching as much news anymore because I've just been so, not indoctrinated by it, but it's just been hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. It's like, forget it. I just want to break away from it. What's happened in Minneapolis too, I'm up here, I come back and I find out a little bit about it and just pushes me back up to nowhere's land up here in the good Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Ed, which book have you gotten through? Well, you got through Scotland. No, Scotland was, what are you reading? What are you streaming?
Oh, God. All right, so I just finished a trilogy on Thomas Cromwell by Hilary Mantel. So it was 3 different books that I read since we last recorded, and it's on 16th century England.
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
Who is Thomas Cromwell?
Thomas Cromwell was an advisor to King Henry VIII in 1528 to 1540.
Wow. Did he know all of his wives?
I know who my phone a friend's going to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
There you go.
Yeah, so I finished those, and I just started The Sun in Splendor, which goes 100 years earlier. So I'm King Edward and Richard III, so his brother.
Not Edward II.
No.
Not Edward Longshanks?
Nope. That's the first, yep.
Yeah. Well, I finally finished Breaking Bad, and 5th season, Serena, tremendous. I won't give anything away, obviously. Definitely worth the watch on Netflix. Been watching a lot of stuff that a friend of mine sent from England. I've been enjoying The Good Fight, which is the spinoff from The Good Wife with audio description. The Good Wife did not have audio description, but The Good Fight, and I don't even believe it has it on CBS Access, but some people in England have gotten it. I've been going back and watching Ballers, the HBO show, again from England. It's always funny when they refer to a football field as a pitch. Learning my British phrases, throw them in the boot and everything, and just deciding what to watch next on Netflix. I got Mindhunters I've been thinking about. Dark just came back with the 3rd season, and The Politician has 2 seasons, so never going to run out of stuff to watch and everything, and then they keep coming out with new content. But for now, we have been That Blind Tech Show. You can email us in thatblindtechshow@gmail.com. Tweet us in @blindtechshow. Join the Facebook group where from time to time we'll be doing a Facebook Live, That Blind Tech Show. Call us in at 612-367-6093, I think. Jeff, you might have to double check that and everything.
Ding, ding. Absolutely correct, Brian, sir.
All right. What does he win? He wins an out.